The land explored by our ancestors extends from Altai to the White Sea. The scientific expedition, Trails of Nomads, continues to unveil the path of our forefathers. Its leader is a true citizen of the world. He believes, without a deep understanding of the past, there is no future. Each journey is focused on a detailed study of history and culture. Pilgrim of the 21st century, Qazaq, with a team of scientists, has already visited more than 50 countries. Scientists reveal the exciting secrets of the past. Watch an amazing story of a great journey in the Trails of Nomads program. Trails of Nomads scientific expedition team has reached the eastern Kazakhstan. By how many years did the Berel ground increase the chronological framework of the existence of the Kazakh statehood? What conclusions does the ancient kobyz found in Altai suggest? What is the main value of the Urjar Princess? Altai, which is considered the golden cradle of humanity, is now divided into 4 parts. It is a part of each of 4 states. The northern and eastern parts belong to Russia. The southern parts belong to China and Mongolia. And the west is territory of Kazakhstan. However, boundaries may not always be an obstacle. Whichever side of the mountain the people inhabited, everyone has the same roots: Turkic. Archaeological excavations confirm that they are the indigenous inhabitants of Altai. Trails of Nomads scientific expedition members were convinced of this even during their work in the region in 2016.
Біздің Алтайдан Менделеев табиғатындағы күллі химиялық элементтердің
Altai enjoys all the elements of the periodic table. Among them are nickel, gold, silver, brass, lead, and many other elements. Our ancestors who lived in Altai as far back as BC used and processed these metals even then.
Олардың барлығы да алтынды, күмісті пайдаланған сол кезінде.
Getting on the ferry Odessa, expedition members crossed the Bukhtarma River to the right bank and headed towards the Berel plain located in Katon-Karagay. The group, under the leadership of Sapar-Iskakov, was met by the famous archaeologist Zainullah Samashev at the Berel Mound. An international expedition which he leads carried out excavations here. The work began in 1998. Since then, 7 burial grounds have been discovered, and many valuable artifacts have been found. The current excavations are also full of surprises, and there is something to surprise. We have uncovered one of the most interesting mounds for archaeologists of the Berel site. This is mound number 2. We're almost completing the excavations. Why did we choose this particular mound? In this area, one large mound was uncovered in 1865. A large mound near the burial ground number 2 was opened in 1865 by Vasily Radlov. Items that were discovered here describe the high status of the person buried there. Therefore, there is an assumption that this is the burial of the king. All artifacts found in burial number 2 also confirm the correctness of this assumption. We found items typical for a woman, like stone beads, 2 jugs, a cup made of wood. Sapar-Iskakov went down to burial ground number 2 and got acquainted with the found artifacts. This burial ground had already been plundered earlier, but still some fragments of clothes trimmed with gold remained. Taking into account this fact, it was assumed that a representative of the royal dynasty was buried here as well. A cannabis grinder and utensils were found nearby. It is possible that the old person was buried here. That is, elderly people were buried along with the necessary drugs for treatment. Also, there were a mirror with a handle, cast in bronze and made in an animal style. Archaeologists have suggested that a woman is buried in this burial ground. To study social phenomena, social issues in Sakha society, the status of the ruler and his wife, their place in society, it was necessary to have new materials. That is why we continue to excavate and move towards our goal. The harness found next to the man is also trimmed with gold. It features an image of a bird. Earlier, during the excavation of burial ground number 10, a saddle was found. It also had a picture of a bird. This style of items, decoration, and a number of other features of the burial indicate that the Saka queen was buried in this burial ground in the early Iron Age.
Табылды, жеті аттың ішіндегенде екеуі былай басына маска киілген, маскасын.
We found 7 horses. 2 of them wear head masks. They are completely made of gold tin. 1 horse was intended for the king himself. The other 6 or 5 are for relatives and entourage. These horses could symbolize other tribes. It was believed that in another world, horses can be used as a form of transport.
Бұл енді о дүниеге барғанда керекті мініс аттары деп салынады.
Another feature of the burial mound is that the deceased was placed in a wooden sarcophagus. This sarcophagus, made of pine, was taken from burial ground number 10. Zainullah Samashev's Russian colleagues expressed a desire to examine it.
Приехал для того, чтобы взять материал, по которому мы можем...
I came here to get wooden parts. They're needed to determine to which period the mound belongs. Here is a wooden sarcophagus in front of us. The Altai Sakas had a tradition of making burial utensils from wood. A special sarcophagus was made for the representatives of the upper class. The mound plundering caused the destruction of the sarcophagus, and nevertheless, in spite of everything, we can say that it has been very well preserved.
В принципе, само дерево очень хорошей сохранности.
Russian scientists examined the wooden parts using the dendrochronological method and determined when the tree was cut. It was also determined to what time the mound belongs. Experts examined the fragments of the sarcophagus from mound number 11 and calculated that it was made in 300 BC. Cooperation with foreign countries provides an opportunity to exchange experience and use their technologies.
Вообще этот способ позволяет с точностью до 1 года определить время сооружения. Поэтому мы можем говорить о том, что...
In general, this method enables to determine the time of appearance of this or that monument. Therefore, we can say that these mounds left by the Saka tribes were built between the second half or at the end of the 4th century BC and the beginning of the 3rd century BC. The mounds of the Qazakh culture in the Russian part of Altai and the mounds in the northwest of Mongolia belong to the same period. Thanks to the dendrochronological method, we can confidently speak about the reliability of information.
Похожие в северо-западной Монголии, и мы благодаря годичным кольцам, благодаря методу дендрохронологии, вот можем об этом довольно уверенно говорить.
Saka burial mounds found on the Kazakh and Russian sides of Altai are very similar not only in historical chronology but also in terms of material culture. There are burial grounds similar to burial in Tuva in Khakassia. This was proved by a Russian scientist who studied the Saka burial mounds in the eastern Altai. According to him, the cultural connection was formed in the 1st millennium BC.
Казахская культура, она чрезвычайно богатая во всех отношениях. Она идет достаточно хорошо продокументирована с эпохи бронзы, с эпохи ранней бронзы.
Kazakh culture is very rich from all sides. This can be seen from the early Bronze Age. Over millennia, this phenomenon continues. The patterns found on Saka monuments during excavations and other signs are very similar to the decorations of today's Kazakh national clothes. In this step, there were many migration processes, various historical events, but the owners of this land have preserved their ancient historical existence. There are deep connections between the Saka culture and their successors, the Turks, Kimaks, Kipchaks, and peoples who appeared in the historical arena.
Здесь были, конечно, различные исторические волны, миграции, но все равно основное население здесь осталось и продолжает эти традиции. И достаточно глубокая связь с сакской культурой, с последующей тюркской культурой и в дальнейшем с кимаками, кипчаками и другими народами.
Of course, the propaganda of historical continuity is of great importance. It has not been suspended, starting from the ancient Sakha tribes who inhabited the Great Steppe and up to today's Kazakhs. Therefore, a museum was specially opened in the Berel mound. There are specially processed items found in Berel grounds.
Жергілікті әкімшіліктің инициативасы бойынша бұл жерде аспан астындағы ашық.
The local administration plans to create an open-air museum on the site. That is, it is necessary to reconstruct all found items, for example, a chariot, sarcophagus, and other artifacts. All this will certainly attract tourists and will also play an important role in patriotic education of young people.
Бойынша қалтырып, содан кейін ана жердегі саркофагы, содан кейін қиматағаны, солардың бәрін қайтадан жаңғыртып, соны музей жасап қоямыз ба деген жоспарымыз бар.
Zainul Samashev's plan has come true. Berel Ground number 2, whose excavations were witnessed by members of the scientific expedition Trails of Nomads, has really become an open-air museum. After the competition of research work, in a short period of time, a month and a half, a glass canopy was erected over the mound. Its area is 90 square meters and its height is 8.5 meters. This is a unique burial ground in the Republic. There is a lot to see in the Berel Plain. This place is called the Valley of the Kings among historians because each of Berel grounds contains treasures. The most ancient ones date back to 4th, 3rd centuries BC. The later ones date back to 7th, 8th centuries. That is, they begin with the era of the Sakas and end with the Turkic period.
If
you look at it from a material point of view, historical continuity can be traced in everything. For example, the era of the late Sakas, the end of the 4th century, and the end of the 3rd century. Then the period of the Sanbi, 2nd, 3rd, 4th centuries. Further, starting from the 5th to 6th and up to the 8th centuries, there are finds of mounds of ancient Turks. That is, in the steppe, the historical continuity has never been suspended. One of the special artifacts that testifies to the historical continuity is kobyz. Several years ago, archaeological scientists under the leadership of Zainul Samashev discovered the remains of a Kipchak warrior on the Altai land. In the grave, they found a musical instrument, kobyz, next to the weapon.
Ежелгі түріктердің қоғамын, әсіресе Батыс Европа ғалымдары соларды сипаттама жасады.
When Western scholars describe the ancient Turkic society, they say that it is a people who only knew the art of war. Here we found a warrior, his musical instrument, a cup and wooden dishes. There is food in it so that he could eat in another world. All this speaks about their worldview. It was a very sophisticated society.
Дүниеге барғандағы асы, солардың барлығы дүние танымы, солардың барлығы көрініп тұр. Бұл қоғам өте күрделі қоғам болған.
On the initiative of Sapar Iskakov, the kobyz found in Altai was reconstructed. This is how the oldest musical instrument began to sound on the modern stage. The famous kobyz performer Al-Quwat Kazakh played it. Everyone knows that the most famous stringed instrument in the world is the violin, but few people know that the Kazakh violin is the forefather of this aristocratic instrument. Kobyz made from maple root is the progenitor not only of the violin but of all stringed and bowed instruments. The reason for this assumption is that it is the oldest bowed string instrument on earth.
Қазақтың мәдениетін шетелге тарату мақсатында
To promote Kazakh culture, I presented copies of this kobyz to the leaders of 5 different countries, since kobyz is the forefather of the violin, widespread in Europe, and people should know about it. When you discover such artifacts, how can you not raise the development level of the culture of the ancestors? Zeynal Asamashev, reflecting on this topic, outlined the priority importance of a number of other artifacts found in the burial ground of the Altai warrior.
Ол кісінің шалбары, содан кейін іш киімінің барлығы жібектен жасалған. Мысалы, Отан соғысында.
For example, during the Second World War, only officers wore such clothes. But this man who was buried here had similar style already in the 8th century. Look at his weapons. Say, his saber. The blade is covered with the skin of a stingray that lives in the Pacific Ocean. This also speaks of the level and what a story is hidden behind this small fact.
Соның терісін менен ораған. Көрдіңіз бе? Бұның артында қанша әңгіме жатыр.
Before arriving in the East Kazakhstan region, the members of the scientific expedition visited Pavlodar. They were met with the director of the Center for Archaeological and Ethnological Research, Timur Smagulov. He found a unique artifact in Altai. A sensational monument was discovered in the Urjar district along the Taskyasken-Bakhty highway. In scientific circles, it is called the Urjar Princess.
Там были обнаружены остатки золотой аппликации в виде сказочной птицы.
A fragment of a gold piece was found there, on which a bird from a legend was depicted. According to our mythology, this is the Samruk bird. Other gold items with figures made in the animal style were found nearby. For example, the image of a saiga.
Антилоп, сайгаков в характерном зверином стиле, который относится как раз к тому времени, когда здесь существовала культура саков.
The most important value of the Urjar Princess is a gold wedding headdress. It is very similar to the Kazakh one, saukele, the wedding dress of the Kazakh bride. It is adorned with plant-like patterns and golden animal-style designs. The found princess may be the daughter of the leader of the Saka tribe of the Tigrahods. Nearby a skeleton was found without a head and one arm, possibly the remains of her servants. The same find was earlier made in the Almaty region on the Issyk Mound.
Осы екі адамның үстіндегі киімдері, олардың
The clothes of these two people, patterns and ornaments made in the animal style indicate the high level of culture and civilization of the Sakas. They mastered a very high technology of metal processing. They made very thin gold, tin for jewelry. One might even say that it is a know-how, even now.
Өте жұқа қылып істеу, ол үлкен технология. Қазіргі заманда ноу-хау деп айтуға болады.
The artifacts found in the mounds, Berel, Urjar Princess, Shilikti, and Elikesazi became sensational news for the world science. If we take such a material heritage as a basis, Altai is a golden cradle not only for the Turks but also for all mankind. Altai is not only a cradle of history, it enjoys a fascinating, unique nature. The expedition Trails of Nomads, led by Sapar Iskakov, also visited one of the reindeer herding farms. A deer is a noble animal, one of the symbols and spiritual patrons of Altai. Another picturesque stopover of the expedition is the Rakhman Springs. Warm water at an altitude of 1,750 meters above sea level has unique healing properties.
Енді оларда бір аңыз бар. 18 ғасырда Рахман деген бір аңшы таудың арасында бұғы аулап жүріп, бір бұғыны атқан, ол жараланып, қашып барып, сол суға құлаған көлге.
There is a legend about this place. In the 18th century, a hunter named Rahman hunted in the mountains and shot a deer. The deer was injured, and having reached the water, he fell into the lake. After a while, the deer came out of the water with all his wounds healed. The surprised hunter told other people about what he saw. After that, the inhabitants of various villages began to come to this place, plunge into the water and heal. This fact speaks about the uniqueness, the nature of our Altai.
Бұл да енді біздің Алтайдың сондай бір табиғатының өте күшті екенін көрсетеді.
The sun rises in the east. Perhaps the star of our civilization has risen from the same east. Of course, this should be still investigated.